Joe Jenkins. Today I'm going to talk to you about slate roofs and particularly about slate roofing for asphalt shingle installers. If you're used to installing asphalt shingles and not that used to installing slate, and I'm talking about natural quarry roofing, slate, stone roofing, then I want to explain a few things to you that you really should be paying attention to before you start putting slate on. There are several main differences between slate and asphalt shingles. One, you can't walk on slate like you can walk on asphalt shingles. Slate doesn't lay flat on the roof. It's all propped up at an angle. It has a void underneath it, and if you walk on it during installation, you're likely to crack it and break it. And they may not fall apart immediately. They may fall apart a year or 2 or 5 later, but they definitely will break. And this is a common problem. Common problem when slate roofs are installed by inexperienced roofers. Don't walk on the slates. Make sure you have the correct overlap on the shingles. It's called headlap, and headlap is critical. If you put a slate roof on with incorrect headlap, you're going to have to take it all back off again and start all over. So you got to make sure you get the headlap correct. Okay, let's talk about overlap. If you don't have the overlap, you can put an entire roof on like this or bigger and then have to take it all back off again. And I've seen it happen, unfortunately, too many times. And the overlap is the overlap every slate has on it from 2 courses above. So the top of the slate, this one with a little corner broken off, but this top edge is called the head. So this is the head of the slate. This head has to be overlapped by the slates 2 courses above, which here are not installed, but we'll back up a little. Here's the slate, here's the next course down. Now where's the next course? Well, the next course is the starter course. There it is right there. So we have 1 course, 2 courses, and then the 3rd course. Starter course underneath, 1st course you can see, 2nd course here. So the starter course is overlapped by the 2nd course. By a certain number of inches, and that's the headlap. And if that headlap is not correct, you are in deep trouble. So what we're doing here is we're overlapping, we're giving this a 5-inch headlap. So here's the 1st course, 2nd course, the starter course is underneath. This is 7 inches, we have 5 more inches underneath there. Now 5 inches is excessive, it's not typical. Typical on a roof like this would be 3 inches. We're giving it 5 inches because the eaves here where ice builds up and ice damming, and by giving it extra headlap along the eaves, all we're doing is fortifying them to prevent water penetration in a vulnerable area here. So once we get past the bottom 3 feet or so of the roof, the headlap switches back to 3 inches, which is what it would normally be, and it stays that clear to the top. Minimum headlap is 2 inches on steep slopes or walls, and you can increase the headlap to whatever you want. Typical is 3 inches. Recommended is 4 inches at lower slopes, and then we go the extra mile and make it 5 inches at the eaves. Here you can see we left the slates out to get these brackets on, but here, right here, you can see the overlap. It's a 5-inch headlap on these eave slates. And here you can also see Here's the top of the slate coming across. You've got 5 inches of headlap right there. If you don't get this right, you've messed the roof up. There's no solution, no correction. You have to take the roof all back off and re-chalk it and do it all again. And just to give you a quick idea, this is not rocket science. It's easy to do. Say your slate here is 18 inches long and you want a 3-inch headlap, which is typical. You deduct 3 inches from the length of it, that leaves you with 15 inches. Divide that in half, and that leaves you with 7.5 inches. So your exposure then will be 7.5 inches, 7.5 inches. That's with an 18-inch slate and a 3-inch headlap. That's how you calculate headlap and exposure. And when you're chalking your lines, you're chalking them according to your exposure. Your slates always are laid on a chalk line across the top of the slate. Use red chalk because it won't wash off. Permanent. And that's basically the headlap in a nutshell. Thirdly, nailing. You don't nail slates like you nail asphalt shingles. Asphalt shingles you pound down hard. Slates you don't. You nail them, the nail heads into the crater on the slate, and that is as far as the nail is pounded. If you pound it any farther, you'll break it through the slate, and if you break through the slate, it's called over nailing, and that slate may hang on one nail or it may just come completely out. If you don't pound the nail down far enough, the head will stick up and it'll rub the overlying slate and wear a hole in it over time. So you need to be able to nail the slates correctly, not like an asphalt shingle. You don't pound it tight. When you nail them, the nails just go down into that indentation. There's a crater here, and that's how far the nail head goes. It goes into that crater, and that's it. So the slate's not really nailed tight like a piece of wood or like an asphalt shingle. And so when it's nailed correctly, that nail is down in that crater and it's not rubbing against the other slates. If you nail it too hard, it'll go right through. It'll break this out. That's called over nailing. And then the slate's going to hang on one nail, the nail that didn't get broken through. And if you don't nail it enough, the head will stick up and rub against the overlying slate and wear a hole in it. That's called under nailing. And that's a common mistake made by inexperienced roofers. Now here's a case where a nail is sticking up a little, and sometimes there's a knot or something underneath there. So you take a bolt, which you should always have in your nail belt if you're doing any slate work, and then that becomes your nail set, and you can put it on there and tap on it like that, and then you got your nail down right where you want it to be. Another main difference, the starter course. The starter slate is nailed upside down, back up. There's always a cant. You don't use cant strips on starter courses on asphalt shingles, but you have to have them on the slate roof. You don't need a drip edge. On asphalt shingles, you typically use an aluminum drip edge. You don't need a drip edge on a slate roof. You can use one. You can use a copper drip edge with a cant built in. The cant is just the prop, the shim that holds the starter slate up at an angle, because every other slate on the roof is angled. The starter has to be angled as well. Now, as far as the starter course goes, notice that these starter slates, at the very bottom course, there's nothing underneath them. They're nailed back side up. And you notice they're punched at the quarry like that, so the crater is on the back side. where the nail head will sit. All the other slates are punched from the back, so the crater's on the front. But you can see on these slates, there is no crater on the front. The crater is on the back. So you're going to lay the started backside up, and you're going to lay them on a cant. Here we're using a traditional wooden cant, and all that is a piece of hemlock ripped down to about a ½ inch, and that holds the bottom of the slate up because all the slates on the roof are angled. We like to use these hammers, these tubular shank or solid shank hammers without the cutting edge, because all the weight is in the head, and if you're going to pound on nails, that's what you want, a hammer designed for pounding on nails. The hammers with the cutting shanks are designed more for cutting slate, and if you're pounding all day, you'll find that one of these hammers is much nicer. So here's the 4 things. Your starter course, that includes the cant, the head lat, critical, the nailing. You have to have the correct nailing technique, and the scaffolding on the roof. In other words, don't walk on the slates. If you're going to walk on the slates, forget it. It's just wrong. It's not a floor, it's a roof. Yes, you can walk on asphalt shingles a lot of the time, but not slate. You don't want to walk. And if you follow these 4 basic rules, chances are you'll have some pretty good luck. There's much more to it. It's not rocket science. It's simple. You can do it. But the huge mistakes I've seen made on slate roof installations today are being made because contractors are making mistakes that could have been easily avoided. So I'm giving you this little video here to help you avoid these mistakes. So I hope it helps.